Hey guys, this is Resolution here.
What's happening?
As always, Astroman, Bebop, and Kron bring you the latest and greatest. By latest and greatest, we mean a decade or two late reviews. This case, we're going to be reviewing Martin Scorsese's 1991 version of Cape Fear. And I think we all agree that the movie is a classic in cinema history, if we would say so ourselves.
Yeah, everything Scorsese does is a classic.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, the film centers around Max Cady, who's portrayed by Robert De Niro, great actor, we all know. And he's basically on a quest to find his old lawyer, who's portrayed by Nick Nolte, and he's just terrorizing him because he didn't necessarily do his job right when he was defending him on a supposed rape charge, and he ends up going to prison for 14 years. That's a decade and some change. So while he's in there, he ends up reading books, and he basically figures out, wait a minute, this guy screwed me, he gypped me. So that's what the film is about. It's a revenge sort of, thriller, horror type of film. Really good stuff. But that's not all I want to dwell on. I want to talk about the acting. Like, good old acting, pretending to be another person. And I can say it was actually extremely good, as is expected in a Scorsese film. De Niro's southern accent was hilarious. I mean, he was talking like this, and he was quoting Bible scriptures, which is a typical stereotype of Southerners. And everybody else, they were doing really well. Nick Nolte, he really sold it as, this self-righteous kind of guy who's...
Where are you, Chancellor?
Yeah, like he knew he did the wrong thing, and he still, I didn't do anything, and how much money do you want? Remember that scene in that show where he's asking about how much money he wanted? It's like,
Can I pay you in Coke Rocks?
It's like, you can't bribe this dude. It's like, this guy doesn't care about that. He's trying to terrorize you. He's not trying to spend his money on stuff he doesn't need. Even he said, he's like, do I look like I'm destitute? And that snip was freaking funny.
You got them Coke Rocks, so maybe we could try.
No, and then Jessica Lange, she was Nick Nolte's wife, and she wasn't really any better than he was. I mean, granted, she wasn't a crook, but, she was just kind of on for the ride, I mean, she just, anything for that money, so she didn't really realize what that entailed. And they got a daughter, who's portrayed by Juliette Lewis, and she's an impressionable, cute little teenager. She's more or less infatuated by old boy Max Cady, because she doesn't know, what's really going down until the ending. But yeah, the acting was it was great. Like, Scorsese, he really knows how to get the best performances out of his actors and actresses, and it really shows in this film because it's in North Carolina, so everybody's got to have that southern dialect, even though most of the actors aren't from the South. Well, actually, Juliette Lewis, she is, but the point being is everybody did what they had to do, and it was really believable. Like, De Niro exceeded in that whole I'm a predator type character. I'd say he was more
of a smacking nature.
Yeah, he was more of a predator than the actual predator nigga in the movies who was messing with Schwarzenegger and co. Like, he was just always there. He was enigmatic. Like, one minute he's there, one minute he's not there. Really good stuff, man. And the physicality of his character, for someone who was up there in age, he looked pretty darn good. And
he managed to bring out the worst out of everybody that was involved too.
Yeah, like how Kron just said, basically everybody's playing this game, well, except for Danielle. Everybody's playing this whole I'm this super self-righteous type of guy, and he's basically just putting all their flaws out on the table, and it's just like, you're not as perfect as you think, and I'm about to put that all out there. Like, it's really good stuff. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about, because that's like my favorite thing about this movie is the performances were really, really, really good.
For me, an important aspect of any great film is great camera work. And in any given Martin Scorsese film, you're bound to get that. So Cape Fear is no exception. Think about it. If you're watching a film and you can't see any of the actors' subtle inflections or any of their, nuances to their performances, what good does that do? And here in Cape Fear, the angles that Scorsese had, that he used for the film, they were incredible. There were times where he would isolate a character and it felt like they were just completely at Cady's mercy. There were other times where he would frame it to where Cady was boring down on the character, and it looked like something out of Nat Geo. It looked like a panther was about to pounce on a gazelle, and it was an incredible mind trick right there, man. But that's the power of Scorsese, and that definitely heightened the film to just a new psychological level. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is the writing. That was grade A. the way how the character Max Cady was written, he was written to be more so of a force of nature, honestly, than a human being. And if you think about it, that's in line with the whole theme of, fear, kind of feeding off of everybody. It's like Cady was like the agent of fear in the movie. And so what was interesting about his relationship with the protagonist, Sam, Nick Nolte's character, was that, it's like usually in horror films you have a sympathetic protagonist. You want them to survive, but in this one, when you learn about Nick Nolte's character and you learn about some of the dirt in his background, you really kind of start to question. It's like, does Cady maybe deserve to get his revenge on this dude? Like, this guy's kind of a jerk, not only just in his professional life, but in his family. It's like, and that's so interesting about the film. It's like Scorsese puts us in that scenario where it's like, wow, man. Wow, am I actually rooting for a character as vile as Max Cady? And at one point the answer is yes. So really those two things for me made the film, it definitely put on the level that it did for me. The camera work and the writing were excellent.
I really like the atmosphere in the movie, because there's a lot of moments where you feel like, can Cady really teleport? Because he manages to manifest himself at any given point. He's sitting on the fence, he comes out of the bushes, he's in the crowd, and then he's not in the crowd. It's like, this guy's a force of nature. But he manages to use this to his ability to really get down psychologically to everyone who's involved. And then, of course, there's the part later on in the movie when Danielle meets him at the auditorium. And you notice that the background is kind of reminiscent of Little Red Riding Hood, Big Bad Wolf. It's a forest setting with a lone cabin. And out comes the Big Bad Wolf of the cabin, a.k.a. Cady, trying to rope in Danielle with his sense of the truth and just this suave, charismatic attitude, despite this dude being an ex-con. He knows what he's doing. And then once he does go through his little spiel here, he exits the stage, or in this case, the Big Bad Wolf retreating back into the forest. He finally has an idea of who his prey is, and he's going to plan out his next attack. And then when we come to the ending point of the movie, the family finally has this sense of freedom. Like they're out in the bayou, they're out there on their boat. They feel like they're finally rid of Cady. But lo and behold, the dude manages to find his way there as well. And it makes it even worse for the family because they're just out there on this boat, out there on the river with this storm brewing, and they can't reach out to anybody. It's just them through and through. So they really got to go above and beyond to try and make sure this guy, they got to get this guy out of their lives once and for all. You really feel that sense of just that absolute tension. Just you feel like all is lost, but there has to be some way out of it. That's why I feel the atmosphere combined with the camera work and the acting really made this movie just something else. It was just really above and beyond. It was such a great experience.
Alright guys, so for our final verdict of the film, I give it an 8 out of 10. I think that if you're looking for an entertaining, thrilling, and an engaging horror film experience, that this is definitely the film that you should see this Halloween. Bebop, what do you give it out of 10?
Yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10 as well, guys. It paid its respects to the original 1962 version. Martin Scorsese's the master of filmmaking, directing, the acting, the editing, the music. Everything was on point. It's supposed to be a thriller. It's supposed to be kind of like a little horror elements thrown in there. And in this film, all of that exceeds. So if you guys haven't seen it, go on ahead and check it out. It'll be perfect for Halloween.
All right, Kron, what's your final verdict for the film?
I give it a solid 9 out of 10 because just like what you guys said, the acting was on point, the music, the atmosphere, all this stuff, it just blended into this great thriller cocktail, that just leaves you really feeling like the psychological tension that the characters felt. You were thrown right in there. You weren't just watching a movie, you were a part of it. And I just want to say this, with Halloween coming up, if you really want something to mess with you psychologically and give you the chills, I recommend this movie.
Alright guys, so there you have it. That's been Resolution's review. Martin Scorsese's rendition of Cape Fear. And as always, peace. And say peace to these niggas, man.
Peace.